Hello and welcome to this podcast. I'm Anju Ghangurde, Executive Editor for the Asia Pacific region with SCRIP and Pink Sheet. And today I'm joined by Mr. Anil Matai, Director General of the OPPI, which represents global research-based pharmaceutical companies in the country. Mr. Matai, as many of you probably already know, is an industry veteran and has the distinction of having worked in leadership roles across multinationals such as Novartis India, GSK India, and Global Pharma Dubai, as well as the Indian company Zydus Healthcare, where he superannuated as managing director. So he really knows the ins and outs of both sides of the business. He was also engaged as Senior Advisor Life Sciences at IQVIA Consulting and Information Services India and has been an operating partner at Jashvik Capital, a mid-market private equity fund focused on healthcare and consumer sector. So broad range of perspectives coming along. Now, World IP Day just went by on April 26th, and today we are essentially going to focus on the subject of patents and discuss some of the big picture issues, long-standing prickly aspects in India, the opportunities ahead, and how things are shaping on the ground. We've seen India amend its patent rules, streamline IP administration, and government data last year said that the Indian Patent Office granted over 1 lakh patents between 15th March 2023 and 14th March 2024, with 250 patents granted every working day. Of course, there are contentious issues as well. IP enforcement, Section 3D of the Indian Patents Act and its impact, and we'll get to those as well. So, a lot to discuss. Thank you, Mr. Matai, for your time today.
Thank you, Anju. Thanks a lot for inviting me on this very important and relevant topic of IP and innovation, because if India really needs to move up the value chain and become a big healthcare player globally and become a pharma powerhouse, I think these two components, both IP, innovation, and related matters, will play a key role. So it will be my pleasure to go through these discussions and try and respond to your comments and questions, if any.
Thank you so much. So, let's begin with a general broad question before we actually dive into some of the specifics. Now, a World IP Day recognizes how IP encourages and can, amplify innovation and underlines the importance of a balanced IP system that recognizes and rewards inventors, but also ensures societal benefits. Now, as an industry veteran who's seen both sides, the innovator and the generic side of things really closely, would you say pharma patent filings are perhaps getting a bit more judicious now, recognizing this balance? Because, we've seen the FTC, the US FTC, get into the picture, disputing improper patent listings in the FDA Orange Book. That's one. And the second bit is, are innovative firms markedly more open to perhaps licensing, especially in developing nations?
Well, we at OPPI do believe that research and innovation and its protection are fundamental to the sustainable growth of the industry we are in, that's the pharmaceutical sector. And patents provide incentive and enable companies to take early stage risks. Because we operate in a business which is risky, we don't know how many of our compounds will succeed. And there are varying figures of how many billions of dollars you need to spend before you get a first successful compound. So from discovery to development to scale up and then post-marketing obligations, the journey requires sustained financial and scientific investments, which can be incentivized through an effective IP framework. I repeat, I'm using the word effective IP framework. Data indicates that during COVID-19, over 450 voluntary collaborations happened, 177 in therapeutics alone, wherein place to support the global supply of COVID-19 vaccines and treatments, with India being one of the top voluntary license locations. India was definitely at the top end. These collaborations were varied and dynamic, requiring close working relationships and trust among partners and covering all parts of the value chain: large biopharma companies, small biotech companies, research and academic institutions, supply chain arrangements, and downstream manufacturing facilities. The collaborations also bring to the fore the importance of discussions around need for regulatory convergence, securing supply chains, trade facilitation, and having a meaningful IP framework. Coming to your second part of the question, which was around will global companies launch their products faster in India? Yes, why not? Why should an Indian patient be deprived of medication when it is available globally and there is a need here? Currently, as you must be aware, that there is an average gap of about 4 years between a global launch and an Indian launch. But what really prevents global companies is getting the level of comfort of launching their products in India because of sporadic cases of patent infringements which happen. So if we have a robust IP system, if we are able to provide that level of comfort and ease of doing business within the country, I see no reason why we should be seeing global launches happening almost parallelly in India in the very near future.
Okay. So thank you for that. So you're saying a robust IP system could kind of speed and reduce the gap, the launch gap. Now you've actually touched, on the Indian scenario. So let's actually dive a little deeper into that right away. As OPPI DG and also an ex-PE partner, what's your overall assessment of the overall evolving IP regime in India? Because we've seen the patents amendment rules introducing very important changes like bestowing discretionary authority on the controller to determine the maintainability of pre-grant oppositions, then the requirements to provide working statements being altered from yearly to once in 3 financial years, then the timelines for filing requests for examinations were lowered to 31 months. So if you look at it more holistically, how would you assess this? And if you were to wear your PE hat, would you still see India's IP landscape as extremely complex?
Well, it still is complex, but it is much lesser complex than what I have been seeing it in the 35 years of my association with the Indian pharma market. So for someone who's coming in today, they may still see it being complex, but I would say that the needle has moved. More specifically, talking of the Patent Amendment Rule 2024, it undoubtedly represents a significant step forward for India because we saw this amendment happen after several years. It also addresses some of our long-standing concerns with regard to the IP regime of India. So we at OPPI appreciate these positive changes that the amended rules brought about in the pre-grant opposition process, such as improved hearing procedure and timelines for filing statements and evidence. We do believe that the amended rules do not bestow any discretionary power to the controller of patents towards determining when it comes to maintainability of pre-grant oppositions. In fact, in comparison to the draft which we had seen, the final amended rules diluted the provisions for the controller to decide on maintainability of pre-grant opposition. These also grant the rights to the opponent of being heard before the PGO decides on its representation. So we are hoping, we have put across our representation as to further amendments which may be required, because we do hope that the rules get further amended to address the delays caused due to absence of timelines for the controller to issue the first notification, because the meter starts ticking only after the first notification. If the first notification is not issued for few weeks, few months, or few years, I mean, the whole thing will get delayed inordinately. So for the controller to issue the first notification, I mean, if there are some defined timelines, then hearing notices and final decisions, and also due to filing of there are serial and Benami oppositions which we have seen. Why should we entertain Benami oppositions? So those are areas where we feel that further amendment is required. Overall, if you ask me, the policy, the statutory situation with respect to compulsory license continues to remain onerous in India. So we OPPI, given all this, we believe that these changes are welcome as a good first step, and that further amendments will be issued fairly soon to define timelines. Of course, we are very happy that there has been a simplification of Form 27 and the requirement for the patentees to file it once every 3 years. I think that's a very welcome step. It's a step in the right direction. We need to see more such bold steps being taken in the country.
So clearly some important, strides made, though I guess innovator companies and under the OPPI fold want more. But also I think from the other side, we hear health activists say that, some of the IP changes are pretty strong, and they especially the bit on not providing, revenue and sales data under the working statement, all of that impeding, the CL process and detrimental to public health. That's the other side of the story. But let's move on. And, I just want to touch upon another important aspect. And this also has often come up in, the USTR report, where now, to begin with, experts have long underscored that an efficient IP ecosystem requires innovators, an effective legislative apparatus for granting IP rights, and a robust judicial system, all functioning in tandem. Now, we've seen the establishment of intellectual property divisions in the high courts of Delhi, Madras, Himachal Pradesh, and Calcutta. As OPPI chief and our OPPI innovator companies telling you that they're seeing any marked shift in the speed, efficiency, and quality of IPR adjudications, would you spotlight something, or is it still to reflect on the ground?
As I told you, Anju, in my previous response as well, the needle has moved, but it needs to move much faster. So we have a couple of benches, but we need more such benches. In terms of infrastructure, we need many more patent inspectors. So the overall infrastructure still needs to move faster. So, but otherwise, I would say things are better than where they were earlier, but there is significant scope to improve. I mean, if we really want our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's aspiration of innovate in India, I think more of the steps which we have seen happen in the last few months, those need to happen much more.
Okay. Okay. So obviously, it's a kind of a journey that's begun, but we need to kind of move along. Let's move then to, some of the long-standing prickly issues. I'm actually referring to the restriction on patent eligible subject matter as covered in Section 3D of India's patent regulations, which everyone knows has been at the core of the imatinib decision in 2013 and other cases over the years. But now we have seen an indigenously developed CAR-T. There are several Indian companies, including Sun, Zydus, Dr. Reddy's, Glenmark, even young startups developing innovative assets. And then with AI, there could potentially be a lot of more action in the discovery space in India. Is it perhaps time, for India to review 3D now that Indian firms are moving up this chain? But then, on the other hand, health activists tell us that opening this faucet on patenting incremental innovation could be dangerous and have huge implications for public health. What's your take on this?
Yes, I say yes, because Section 3D was brought in so that innovator companies could not obtain patents for minor improvements, especially when it comes to drugs and molecules. And as you might recall, Anju, I was at Novartis several years back when the first such case came up for Glivec, early 2000s. So in the last 10 years, especially during COVID-19 era, the scenario has changed. Indian companies that do not file improvement patents in India do so and are granted patents in other countries. With increased focus of the Government of India on research and innovation, we at OPPI believe that now is the time that India must open up and allow patents to improve patents. Such improvements would also lead to reduced costs by making it easier for patients to take medicines and improve patient adherence to prescribed therapies. I know it is a contentious issue. It will remain a contentious issue for some time because we need to cross a few more steps, especially when it comes to, say, something like regulatory data protection, because that is even more critical.
Absolutely. So actually, that leads me straight to the next pain point, which you just mentioned. And large innovator drug companies have long called for data exclusivity in India, though India has stuck to its position that its patent law is TRIPS compliant. Besides, we've even seen the EU proposing to reduce the baseline period of data exclusivity, the 8+2+1 rule. So, and if you ask humanitarian groups, they'll say India's position on data exclusivity should stay non-negotiable from the generic industry perspective and the global access point of view. So what are you suggesting? I mean, you think it's time for us to kind of get this underway as well?
See, regulatory data protection is not a patent issue. I would like to specify, clarify, and reiterate that RDP is not a patent issue. In fact, it is an independent form of intellectual property right and an international obligation found in Article 39.3 of the TRIPS agreement that requires WTO members to provide a period of protection during which the undisclosed proprietary test and clinical trial data that is provided to the health regulators to gain marketing approval of the pharmaceutical products by one company may not be used or relied upon directly or indirectly by another company to obtain a marketing approval, because given the current scenario, the originator, the inventor, the innovator is at a disadvantage. They spend years putting together data, and that gets just reference and copy is allowed to is given a marketing approval. So the obligation is derived from the considerable effort needed to demonstrate safety, quality, efficacy of the innovative drug to regulatory authorities who require the submission for such data as a condition for gaining marketing approval. But the second person who's launching it, they just need to do a small bioequivalence or a bioavailability study and then they just get the approval. So why should someone invest millions of dollars or crores of rupees inventing a new drug? Coming to your second question, the second part of your question around EU. So while EU may be deliberating on reducing the baseline period of RDP for new medicines from 8 years to 6 years, it must be noted that EU already has a very strong IP regime where patentability criteria is strict and patents are enforced in a meaningful manner. We don't have that. So it can't be a lose-lose situation if you want the country to really move, to go the route of science and to invest in research and innovation. So there are also deliberations which include even possibilities of data protection extensions as well. If you spoke of EU, but you look at, say, a country like China, which in the recent past has taken a significant advantage over India. especially when it comes to biologics. They also have a data protection, regulatory data protection. So I mean, there is a compelling reason. That's why when we were speaking about Section 3D, I said even before 3D, RDP is an absolute must. Because otherwise, what has happened in biologics may happen to us in small molecules. I don't think India stands a chance now to catch up with China on biologics because they are way, way ahead. And with with the regulatory data protection in place, there are more and more companies globally are investing into China. So RDP to me is a no-brainer. It has to be there.
Oh, sorry. I think I was on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
So just let me get back to that question. This is, on Section 107A or the BOLA provision, which has been at the fulcrum of numerous pharma legal battles in India and has seen contrasting provisions from stakeholders, the innovator firms on one side, generic companies on the other side. Do we have concrete jurisprudence to prevent misuse? Because while innovator companies claim that generic opponents may be, surreptitiously infringing on their patents under the cover of this provision, the other side, the generic companies say that, this is nothing but pushback by innovator companies attempting to delay the entry of generics. So what's your view on this?
So you are right, Anju. I mean, Section 107A, or as we call it, the BOLA provision, has indeed remained at the fulcrum of several patent infringement suits filed in India, that we are aware. And OPPI and its member companies are cognizant of Section 107A of the Patents Act 1970, which permits use, sale, or import of a patented innovation solely for development and submission of information required by the regulatory authorities in India or any other country. And the same is not considered as infringement of the patent rights. If we look at the past experience of our member companies, it reveals that the provision has potential for misuse, with the patented product being used or sold or imported for commercial purposes by the infringers. And time and again, the innovators have had to take preemptive action of tracking infringers misusing the exemption granted under Rule 107A. So the infringement challenges are not restricted to domestic market, but also globally, with the infringers exporting huge quantities of the finished formulas, not only formulations, but also APIs. The innovators have had to approach the judiciary for seeking injunctive reliefs. Also, the burden of proof of such misuse, more often than not, lies with the innovator. So while the division bench of the Delhi High Court laid down the principles, I think it was in the Bayer case versus the Union of India in 2019, to be applied while permitting export under Section 107A, it has also been held that the issuance of blanket directions is not possible and has to be decided on a case-to-case basis. So time and resources spent by the innovators in tracking potential infringers and then litigation is indeed very burdensome. And hence all this hula-bula around it.
Okay, so clearly that's a bit of a tricky area because there are genuine instances of generic companies actually using the provision. But let's move to the stuff that's now engulfing the world. I'm referring to AI, artificial intelligence, and all the activity around that. Now, recent data suggests that India ranks 5th overall in terms of the number of generative AI inventions patented, behind China, which had 38,210 as per some data. Then the US, which followed with 6,276, the Republic of Korea, and Japan. Now, as we move deeper into these newer technologies, should Indian and global IP laws, ideally evolve somewhat parallelly? Because We are in a new area and a lot of fast-paced development happening. Should we also be harmonizing norms in some areas alongside, though of course with the basic guardrails in place? Because we've already seen, cases in India also on the use of copyrighted news content without authorization to train LLMs, AI chatbots, etc.
Anju, I am not an expert on AI, I must frankly admit. But I do believe that for India to become a 30 USD trillion economy by the time we are a Viksit Bharat in 2047, innovation will be required to be embedded and incentivized across every sector, including those evolving, which where I mean even AI included. So harmonized regulations, including IP laws, should provide a clearer and more consistent IP framework that provides confidence to the innovators. It also encourages investment in R&D as companies know their inventions will be protected across multiple jurisdictions. Purely from our sector, which is the life sciences point of view, harmonization also helps us in reducing the costs of a drug development because AI will go a big way in helping us do that. So not only will we reduce the cost of drug development by streamlining clinical trials, it will also reduce the need for redundant research across different countries. So all in all, it will definitely be helpful and it necessarily needs to be embedded and incentivized in wherever there is innovation happening through whichever route. And in the current context, I'm now referring to the AI route. But AI will be a big enabler in terms of contracting timelines, quicker launches, reducing cost, and in every which way. It's only IP part which needs to be protected, and we need to find ways and means of ensuring that happens.
Okay, so exactly. So we need to find ways how the patent system can accommodate inventive contributions made by AI systems. So, if I can just move to the final question and the bit on, the aspect that is engulfing the whole world, the geopolitics and trade wars and the battle for tech dominance, which is reshaping the global economic landscape and impacting all aspects of business. How do you see this impacting the wider pharma innovation landscape and perhaps even, patent filings? Because there are some interesting data points which say that, innovators residing in China filed around 1.64 million patent applications worldwide in 2023. Offices located in Asia received more than two-thirds of patent applications filed worldwide in that same year. And IP offices of the US attracted the most non-resident applications in 2023. Is there something that you see with all this, turbulence happening globally?
See, geopolitical challenges, geopolitical shifts have become the order of the day. So whether it's geopolitical shifts, trade disputes, and the global race for technological leadership, that potentially reshapes business strategies across sectors, including in pharmaceuticals. As the world shifts towards more protectionist policies, which is what we are seeing, with countries incentivizing domestic production, the biopharmaceutical sector may potentially face new challenges that directly impacts its return on assets and the overall efficiency of doing business. This may also have ramifications on access and affordability of the life-saving drugs that are critical to meet healthcare needs of the patients in any country, not only India, in any country. As regards patent filings, it is to be noted that patents are territorial in nature, and therefore innovators are required to file for and obtain patents in respective jurisdictions for protection of their IPs. We, as you are well aware, we at OPPI acknowledge that patent filings in India by both Indian as well as foreign applicants have shown an increasing trend. I was reading somewhere, in one of the annual reports of 2023-24 published by the Office of the Controller General of Patents, Designs, Trademarks, that the trend of patent filing in India, as well as, both Indian as well as foreign applicants, indicated a 19.1% growth last year. So it's not that we have been filing less patents. Of course, we need a mechanism to make these filings more efficient and faster. So factors that have enabled this are many. Apart from the Government of India's strong focus on research and innovation, we've seen several initiatives which have led to these increased patents. It's initiatives like the Startup India, attain innovation. Other factors include building and streamlining measures taken by Government of India in respect of patent offices, increasing the manpower in these offices, modernization in these offices, digitization in these offices. Also the hand-holding startups, which the government has done, I think that's played a key role. Through initiatives like the scheme for facilitating startups, intellectual property, right protection, and everything. So it's been an all-round effort, and we'll see more and more patents because once the ecosystem around innovation gathers further steam, there is improved protection. There is, even better incentivization. We will only see increase in this despite of the geopolitical situation and trade wars which we see around the globe here.
Thank you. Because, exactly as you said, for the first time, I think data in 2023 also showed that applicants residing in India accounted for more than half of all the patent applications received by the IP office in India. Thank you for those, very sharp and important insights on a very critical topic like patents, and also for the, suggestions on what we could expect and what, the work in progress from the OPPI lens. Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Matai. Really appreciate it.
It was indeed my pleasure, and thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity.